Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this special edition of the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show as we recap the 2025 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup quarterfinals as we talk about, unfortunately, not all four games. We're going to talk about three of the four games. The New York Red Bulls visiting the Philadelphia Union was rained out. Extremely heavy thunderstorms, severe weather really put a damper on that game. It flooded the pitch and they just couldn't play it at all. So it got rescheduled to Wednesday, August the 13th. So once again, no Philadelphia Red Bulls recap from me, but that's okay. We'll have that later on next month. So, we'll just be prepared for that. But other than that, some great news for the start of the 2026 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Some wonderful news that begins, and of course, as everyone knows, when we get to the up-and-coming schedule in the fall, September, October, November, that will start Open Cup qualifying for the amateur clubs and for those automatic spots coming to those clubs in the Open Division where it belongs to USL League Two, also the NPSL, and certain things have stayed the same, but others have changed or new additions. So we're going to put that up for you right now. It's a great idea from U.S. Soccer, obviously, and from their Open Cup committee to make these changes, as they're going to have altogether 32 amateur clubs from the Open Division start in the first round for the 2026 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. And here are those changes. And, also probably not big changes, maybe some subtle changes. But here it is right now. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Really amazing stuff. For the amateur clubs in amateur qualifying, it's been bumped up from 14 spots, 14 bids, to 16 from this past qualification rounds last year in the fall. So that's absolutely wonderful to see that happen. So we're going to wait for these clubs that'll be announced sometime. Registration for these amateur clubs who wants to be a part of Open Cup qualifying, that will be going on now, or shall I say this actually started last Tuesday. So it's going on now. And the last day to qualify, or at least to register, if you want your club to qualify to go through the qualification rounds of the Open Cup, that will be on August the 4th. So that is the cutoff date if you wish to attempt to qualify for first round proper of the 2026 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. So that will be then for this year. Now, qualification matches for the schedule for the match windows: September 13th through the 14th, October 11th and 12th, and we also will have it at the beginning of the month of November and towards the end of the month of November. That would be the 1st and the 2nd for the third round, and then for the final round, November 22nd through the 23rd. So that, my friends, is really exciting. And, excuse me. And for now, the Open Division for the clubs that are in the semi-pro leagues, the short season leagues, of course, we will have 16 positions or 16 bids available as well. Now, once again, 2 have not changed. They remain the same. U.S. Adult Soccer Association National Amateur Cup champions from the 2025 tournament, which is probably going on right now as we speak. I believe so. If not, we'll wait for the official dates to come. That will be that champion will have one of the 16 spots. The second of the 16 spots will be for the United Premier Soccer League's spring season champion. And I believe they'll be having their final soon, I believe. And once again, I have to double check the schedule for that one. But once again, the UPSL spring season champion will have that done. And for combined with the NPSL and USL League Two, 13 slots will be available for the open division clubs. Now, they've done a change. If you've read my article at baddogsports.com, um, as you will probably notice if you did read that article, they are no longer doing the national tracker for both leagues. NPSL had one for themselves. USL League Two had one. I mean, basically for the NPSL, whoever reached the playoffs got and advanced into the quarterfinal round. Basically, they would go into first round of the Open Cup unless, unfortunately, they found a way that they could not go to the Open Cup, or if they decided not to go, whatever issues they had. And same thing with USL League Two. So those trackers are gone. So what's going to happen from here on out for USL League Two and NPSL? Very simply put, they will be invited by US Soccer. So in place of the National League qualifying track, US Open Cup will now allocate buys into the tournament proper to high-performing teams from select competitions, teams from the former National League qualifying track that do not receive a bye will be eligible to enter via the qualification rounds. So whoever doesn't go into the USL 2, NPSL 13 slots for the open division clubs, if they want to go through qualification like some other NPSL clubs have done when they don't make it to the quarterfinal round, that will be available to them. So we'll wait and see when that happens. And of course, once it gets announced, it'll be wonderful. And now here is the new addition for the final position. So that's 15 of 16. Now for the 16th position, as you can see there, if you can see the photo of this gentleman right here, that is John Paul Mata. He was the president of the U.S. Adult Soccer Association. He's also a board member of U.S. Soccer. John Mata, of course, championing the amateur division of American soccer, running it. And now it's somebody else. I'll have to find out who it is. But John Mata right now, for all of his hard work of having the amateur leagues and all across the country, keeping an eye on them, of course, with the refereeing, the management, and all that other stuff, paying attention to what the situation is all across the country. He is being honored by the Adult Council of American Soccer, as there will be a trophy named after him. And the purpose of that trophy is the amateur club or from the open division, whoever qualifies for the Open Cup and can go the furthest in the tournament of this current tournament right now, they get awarded that trophy. And of course, they also get the $50,000 prize plus automatic qualification for the 2026 Open Cup. And because El Farolito advanced the furthest, going to the third round and unfortunately falling to Sacramento Republic, it will be El Farolito once again, automatic bid to the 2026 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. That, my friends, is just an unbelievable thing. And once again, for John Mata, what can you say about this man? What can you say about John Mata, who has once again dedicated his time, not just for the game in this country, but for the amateur divisions? The U.S. Soccer Federation Adult Council has established the John Mata Trophy to be presented annually to the open division team that receives the prize money as the open division team that advances the furthest in the U.S. Open Cup. And once again, El Farolito, who did advance the furthest out of all the clubs in the open and amateur division, as I said, going to the third round of the Open Cup, losing unfortunately to Sacramento Republic 1-0. They get the first ever automatic bid for the 2026 U.S. Open Cup. It is just magical and wonderful to see that happen. The trophy is named for John Mata, who has been a long-serving member of the soccer community in the United States, currently a member of the U.S. Soccer Board of Directors. Mata previously served as U.S. Adult Soccer Association president from 2014 to 2024 for a good 10 years. New Hampshire Soccer Association president from 1988 to 1998, and as U.S. Soccer vice president from 1998 through 2000. So, John Mata, once again, sir, here, myself, Daniel Feuerstein, here at the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show. Thank you very much, sir, for your dedication to the game. Congratulations on getting this trophy named after you, sir. You have earned it. You have deserved it. You, sir, absolutely deserve this recognition for your contributions to the game in the United States. U.S. Soccer, all of us who support this game in this country, from all the amateur leagues and the open division leagues, you have earned it. You have deserved it. And from here on out, your name will be a part of posterity no matter what. You are officially linked to the U.S. Open Cup, sir. And congratulations from myself and obviously from your colleagues and your friends that they know your heart and passion for this game and for the amateur clubs, the amateur leagues, and the open division leagues. You have done a fantastic job, and good job, sir. Well done. John Paul Mata, congratulations. You've earned it. You deserved it. I'm very happy for you. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, Open Cup qualifying will begin this coming fall. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun. Go to the cup.us on their Twitter page, which is, of course, known at US Open Cup, or you can go to them as well on Blue Sky. Look up for the cup.us or US Open Cup. If it's also on Blue Sky, you'll see on the search bar or in the search section what they will pop up as. And they will make sure you guys follow anything and everything that goes on with Open Cup qualification this fall. Once again, this coming September, October, and third and fourth rounds in the beginning and end of the month of November. Once again, let me give you those dates for Open Cup qualifying. That'll be September the 13th and the 14th, Saturday and Sunday. October 11th and 12th, that's the second round. November 1st and 2nd, that's the third round. And then the final round, November 23rd through and November 22nd and November 23rd. So that, my friends, is exciting. It is a lot of fun. And, once again, for John Mata, job well done. Very happy for them. Very happy for him, I should say, to get this honor for him. And I really do hope he takes advantage of this. And, I think what he should do, now that we found out about it, I don't know if it happened now, but if he did fly to California and visited the headquarters of El Farolito and handed over that trophy, and we shall see what goes on over there. And all I can say is that it's a situation where basically, this is a man that deserves all the praise he gets for qualification and dedication to help the amateur clubs be where they are and to give them that opportunity to face and challenge the big boys of American soccer, meaning USL League One, USL Championship, Major League Soccer. And once again, if we don't have the amateur leagues getting an opportunity to fight and battle in the US Open Cup, it just makes no sense. I mean, look at what goes on, everywhere else around the world. In the FA Cup in England, in the French League, the Coupe de France, the DFB Pokal, or the Coppa Italia, or the Coppa del Rey, or the Scottish FA Cup, and so on and so on. The amateur clubs deserve that opportunity to knock out the big boy teams, whether they play against their own or they play against a professional side at the next level above. I mean, we could have the next Christos FC if there's an opportunity. We could have the next Dallas Roma as the next opportunity. We can have all these amateur sides, even Milwaukee Bavarians. Maybe the next El Farolito. Who knows? We won't know until they get this opportunity, and we won't know until they come out and just go out and dominate. So all you can say is this, folks. I'm excited. I'm happy. And good for him. Good for him. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about the Open Cup as we get ready to talk about Nashville SC as they took on DC United over at Geodis Park. As we await my first guest, and it is Mr. Valair Shabilla, as we wait for him to jump on and talk about the Open Cup. Cannot wait to have him on the show and talk about what Nashville has done. Big game Nashville had. And I believe this is the furthest that Nashville has been in with the Open Cup. So just excitement all around. And just give me 1 second here. I just got to make sure I get up. Okay, now I know where it is. I apologize for moving the camera. That's not what I was looking for. There it is. That's what I was looking for. And let me just hang on 1 second. And hopefully we will have Valair on very, very shortly as we get ready to talk about it. Yes, we do. And here he is right now from 615 Soccer, Valair Shabilla. Valair, welcome back to the show. And how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Doing excellent. Doing excellent. Thank you very much. Well, I will say this. It looked a little hairy at the start of the match, but somehow around halftime, BJ Callahan, he kind of rallied the troops inside the locker room and a dominating second half.
Yeah, I think based on what Nashville, before that game, they were on a 14-game unbeaten streak. And that game was the 15th in that run. And there was a belief in the stadium, I think, even after the second DC goal, that it's not generally the same belief you would have with any other team going down 2-0. But because they were playing at home, because they had just gone on this incredible run, I think everybody in the stadium, and to be fair, because of where DC is and where DC stands currently within the MLS standings, I think there was this whole belief of, Nashville can make something happen. And you knew that they had a little bit of fire under them when they got that goal back on the 2-1 right away. It was from a mistake that DC did, but Johnny Perez was there to kind of meet the ball and score. And once it became 2-1, it was like, oh, okay, Nashville has an opening here. And then, that second half started, and it was just, even in the first half, honestly, after After Nashville scored their first goal, they came close a couple of times to get a second then, but they were a little frustrated with that. And then in the second half, the floodgates opened.
No, it really did. And boy, did it ever. I mean, Sam Surge was unbelievable how he converted. I'm just going to put up the graphic right now, and you could probably see it right there. We can talk about that first goal, of course, from DC. I mean, that was a hell of a shot from Pirani, comes out of nowhere in the 5th minute. And then, unfortunately for Jack Mayer, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how he touched it last, but I really thought Benteke got the goal since he was right there in front of the keeper and in front of Mayer. But apparently he touched it last and went as an own goal.
Yeah, it was one of those things where if he hadn't touched it, Benteke was going to score it. It was kind of a done deal, and he did his best to kind of shepherd it as far away as he could, but that did end up being a goal. I mean, I think a little bit of better communication, maybe even with Schwaki, the goalkeeper, might have been necessary there. But look, I mean, these things kind of happen, and when you have Benteke behind you, breathing down your neck, these mistakes definitely happen, and that's what ended up happening on those two goals. But both of them were very disappointing for Nashville to concede. And something that we just haven't seen during this run, at least from Nashville SC, is conceding twice and going down so early.
Yeah, no, very true. And then, of course, Jonathan Perez makes it 2-1 in the next minute afterwards, which I was very shocked that Nashville did come back. So maybe I shouldn't have been shocked. But still, though, it's Open Cup. You never know what's going to happen in the Open Cup games. And maybe I shouldn't have been, but I was a little shocked that they quickly got on the board right away after the own goal.
Yeah, it was from a DC mistake. I think Herrera was kind of just in an island of some sort and started dribbling towards his goal, which is never a good sign for any player. And then he tries to clears it, hits the back of a teammate, and falls perfectly to Perez's foot, who finishes first time goal. Nashville's on the board, and like you said, it's a minute after. And I don't even know if it's a full minute after, honestly. And it's kind of it brought life to that stadium, and you could definitely feel it, not just from the players, but the fans felt it too. If they had gone 5, 10, 15 minutes, finished the half 2-0 down, everybody's deflated, right? But it happened so quickly, and everybody was kind of back up, and you could hear the cheering, and you can hear the sort of fans pushing them on, and that's definitely what happened the second half. I mean, I don't know exactly what BJ Callahan said to them, but from that moment they started the second half, there was only one team in that game. And this is no disrespect to DC United, but they tried their best sitting back and kind of just waiting for Nashville to do something. And that was their plan all along, which, to be fair, that could have worked, I guess. And it worked in Nashville last time they were in town because that game ended 0-0, very frustrating 0-0 for Nashville. And then Nashville earns the penalty. Sam Surge converts that. He's been incredible from the spot. He missed one at the beginning of the season, and he's scored every single one afterwards. I think that's 6 now. So he's just been that player to finish everything in front of him, and he's in complete great form. And then on that third goal, before obviously Sam Surge was the scorer, and he deserves the brace, but he was pretty much just the right man at the right spot there. Johnny Perez, who scored the first goal, incredible work right there from him. He beats his man. He dives right into the DC box and just puts it on a plate of gold for Surge to just the easiest tap-in of his life to just kind of score that goal. And all of a sudden you see Nashville in the lead. And really from the equalizer on, again, there was only one team in that half, and Nashville were that team, and you could totally see the belief and the comeback there in the making.
Now, Sam Surridge, I think he's really thrived under BJ Callahan. I've never seen him be this active on the pitch. Now, he's been in good position here and there at times, but to me, it just looks like he's really caught on with what BJ Callahan wants from him. What have you seen from Sam Surridge yourself?
Yeah, look, there were improvements from the start of the season, but this sort of goals, the rate he's scoring these goals has definitely taken an uptick the last 20 games or so, really. Last 15 games specifically too, with that run that ended in Miami, the unbeaten run, where Nashville had 10 wins and 4 draws, which is really, really good, obviously, considering where this team was last season. And for Serge specifically, going back into last season, it was a very frustrating year, not just for him, but for the entire team. And for him specifically, you're a goal scorer, and he just wasn't able to hit them, whether it was the finishing or just lack of chance creation in general, too. To where now, if he misses one, he knows he's getting another. That's a big thing that's been helpful for him. And then, he's a very much a confident striker. He's one of those guys where even to this day, you see him when he scores in the game, he's more likely to score again than to score the first time, in a different game. So it's like it's kind of a continuation of I think for him, the input has always been the same. He's always been that guy that puts in 110% and covers so much ground. I think that's another thing that people don't see into his game. He covers so much ground. He's really a defensive attacker when it comes to off the ball. And then also he's a little bit faster than you would think for a big guy. So having all those attributes, the input has always been there, but now the output is kind of matching it. And I think you're starting to reap the benefits of that if you're BJ Callahan or Nashville, because you see his confidence building goal after goal, game after game.
Yep, absolutely. And once again, Andy Nahar with a Golazo in the 81st. 6 minutes later, Walker Zimmerman makes it 5-2, and it's all over. Troy Lesesne gets sacked by DC United after this loss, so that's a notch on BJ's belt. I'm joking. We don't talk about that stuff, but still. But now you're in a certain. Yeah, exactly, exactly. But now the club's in a bit of a peril at this moment in time, because you don't know where to go, because the rainout between the Red Bulls and the Union at Subaru Park pushed that match to August 13th. And the way the draw went for hosting rights, if Philadelphia wins, they come to Nashville. But if the Red Bulls win, Nashville goes to Harrison. Obviously, there's games going to be played, what's left of the league season until Leagues Cup break comes and then the Leagues Cup starts. I mean, does the club kind of chew or gnaw at the bit, waiting and seeing when this game is going to get played? Or are they just like, no, we just leave it alone. When we get to it, we'll get to it, and we'll see where we go.
The message has very much been the one game at a time cliche from the moment BJ Callahan walked into Nashville SC. He's a very much process-oriented guy. He's focused on process, and he makes his players focus on process. The results are obviously very important. This is a result business. Everybody knows that. But his focus is never results. His focus is very rarely the opponent. He cares about his process and his players. And obviously they study opponents. I mean, that's just doing your due diligence at this point in the sport. But their focus is always internal, and their focus is always on those input points, if you would. And that's really been the message that BJ Callahan carries, the club carries, and now the players are starting to believe in it. And it's much easier to believe in something when the results are there. And that's certainly been the case for Nashville SC. They're competing for a Supporters' Shield effectively, which is a position nobody saw them at. So, yeah, I think they're playing for another trophy now, which is the Supporters' Shield again. They still, if you look at the East, especially those top 5 teams, it's very, very close. It's a point or two separating everybody there. And, I think they're going to be focused on that mission. They have Columbus on Wednesday. That's a very, very tough game coming up. And they still have to go to San Diego. Again, another Supporters' Shield 6-pointer. So there are some big games coming up for Nashville SC. And I think that's kind of a little bit of the annoying part, I think, for them, is that they have this big win. They go to the semifinal of the Open Cup for the first time. And now not only do you not know your opponent, you wait 2 months to play that semifinal. So I think they'll kind of tackle it when it gets there. But I think the club, PJ Callahan, and the players are all very committed to bring the first trophy. And you can see that from his lineup that he put together. Not just the first trophy in Nashville SC history, not just the first trophy in Nashville history, the first trophy in the state of Tennessee. There hasn't been a single professional team who's won a tournament or a trophy in any pro sport in Nashville, Tennessee, in Tennessee in general. So it's a really big deal here. It's for a smaller quote unquote market, you're looking at something that has gotten attention from all sorts of different medias that don't generally cover soccer or Nashville SC.
Absolutely. Valair, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. Good luck in the semifinals, whoever you play, and the rest of the league season. I will hope to have you back on again soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Daniel. Have a good one.
Thank you to Valair Shabilla, 615 Soccer, joining us tonight to talk about Nashville SC's win over DC United. My next guest, who else to talk about Minnesota United FC? But this man right here. This is the one and only Bruce McGuire from DuNord. Bruce, welcome back, my friend. And you're a happy camper, aren't you?
It's been a really good stretch for Minnesota United. You can't argue with that in any way. They've had some rough defeats to some big teams, but overall, man, they are rolling.
What has Eric Ramsey done to put this new confidence into the supporters that support this club? And not just the supporters, but the players have really taken to him and what he wants.
Well, it's something that almost no coaches can ever do, Daniel. He has a plan. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but he has a plan. Yes. Minnesota United had Adrian Heath as their head coach for a long time. He had a lot of experience. You know how it is here in the United States. If somebody is English, they have a big leg up no matter what. We think they're an expert, which is fine. Whatever. But people were downright shocked a year ago when they had 6 months of Eric Ramsey and went, wow, I didn't know it could be this different from the other. And Adrian Heath was just old school. Roll the ball out and go play. And now we have an era that we've been in for 25 years now where it takes a lot more than that to win. And so they're slowly but surely building. They don't spend a lot of money, but they're building a roster, and the players who they bring in are built for this type of roster.
Yes, they are.
So you add that up, and it's simple math, really.
Yeah. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't you? I mean, I like simple math.
Yeah.
I'm not that difficult of a person. I like simple math myself.
I believe in formulas.
Exactly. And speaking about simple math, here's mine. Look at that. Now, I have to admit, that was probably the craziest 3, 4, 5 minute span I've ever seen in an Open Cup match, especially with two MLS teams battling against each other in that quarterfinal matchup. I mean, with the help of VAR, and VAR begins in the quarterfinal round now, Omar Gonzalez, and look, he's a fine player. He's always been a great player, a gentleman of the game.
I love him.
But even he would have to admit he's got to keep his elbow down, and how he got one of those Minnesota United defenders in the face on that corner. He gets the red card. Then all of a sudden, Chicago's going for another foray at the Minnesota net, and Will Trapp fouls his man, gets the yellow card, and gives up the penalty as Brian Gutierrez makes it 1-0 in the 28th minute. That was nuts.
And then Chicago did a great job of packing it in and keeping Minnesota on the outside. And Minnesota doesn't like to have the ball to begin with. They like to have the opponent come at them. But Chicago said, well, we're not going to. We don't have to. So that's a real dilemma, too, for a team that wants to counterattack, wants to hit you on a set piece, wants you to have the ball and turn you over.
Exactly.
And I'm sure that all their video work going in was Chicago comes in with 5 attacking players, and they go at you. They come flying at you from every direction. And Chicago said, well, we're going to pass on that now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because they played down to 10 men the rest of the way with that red card to Omar Gonzalez, and they had to take out Haile Selassie from the attacking structure. So, and then second half right away, who else? Robin Ludd comes up big goal, equalizer, 47th minute.
Well, Minnesota made 3 or 4 subs at halftime because they they had really gone with like half starters and half second team in the game, and so it wasn't happening, and they needed to change it up so they could go at Chicago in a different way. And so everyone they put in, it worked. Yeah, and you're right. Within seconds, they were back on the board, and the game was tied, and everything was different. But Minnesota still couldn't get the next breakthrough, and it went for the entire 45-minute half. And there was plenty of times when Chicago came at them hard, and we're sitting in the stands looking at each other like, is Chicago really going to do this with 10 players in the late in the second half?
Exactly. I mean, that was the scare for everyone inside Allianz Field. I didn't know what was going to happen either. I've been watching back and forth, forth and back, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is going to happen next? I mean, who's going to have the opportunity? And then after regulation ended, you go into extra time, and who else as well? Kelvin Yaboa comes up huge with a brace, got that excellent shot inside the near post in the 95th minute, and then he gets that penalty on the long run where he gets tackled from behind inside the area. Leandro Barroso gets his yellow card. Yaboa gets the penalty, converts it, and it's basically good night, Charlie.
Yeah, it was you could feel the relief everywhere. My seat, maybe 10 rows behind the Minnesota bench, and you could feel the relief from the bench when they hit that third goal late in stoppage time or in added extra time. It was something I think they had been hoping would happen early in the second half, and it took a long time to get there.
You know, there's been a lot of iterations of professional clubs coming out of Minnesota. Obviously, the Thunder, they've had their moments. The Stars, for as short of a time as they've had some good moments. But since becoming Minnesota United FC and then moving into MLS, is this like the first time we have seen a Minnesota club actually make a run? Because right now, you have a possibility. Well, you are going into the semifinals, but it feels like you have the possibility of going into the Open Cup final. I mean, just to see them clicking on all cylinders. And as you said, Eric Ramsey has a plan. Does it feel like that this is a cup contending team right now, either Open Cup or MLS Cup?
I don't think you can ever know that. No matter, I mean, some people obviously, if you're a Seattle Sounders fan, I think almost every year when that season starts, you believe you're going to win something, and they come so damn close if they don't win. And this is one of those things where it's never been a Minnesota thing to believe you're a winner. it's just the way life is. But 2019, they got to the final of the Open Cup, and the game was in Atlanta, and Darwin Quintero was the leader of Minnesota United at that time, and he won the Golden Boot for the Open Cup that year, and he was spectacular. And somehow he ended up in the coach's doghouse going into that, and they put him on the bench. And before you knew it, Minnesota was down 2-0 on the road. Atlanta was the best they've been in their MLS era. They had a fantastic team with all those great players. And Minnesota mounted somewhat of a comeback, and Atlanta got a red card late, and there was a couple of chances when Minnesota could have maybe tied that game, but it didn't happen, and that's the way it ended. And I'm one of those people that always thinks, what would have happened if Darwin Quintero had played 90 minutes in that game? Because he did have a spectacular season all around, and the Open Cup was his forte. He had lobbied the team from the start of the Open Cup that year to play the first team players every game. We see all the MLS teams always start off with their reserve players in the Open Cup, and as they build, they add more and more and more starters to it. And he had demanded that, stood up in the locker room and demanded that they play the full starters from the beginning. And it worked for them until a strange decision was made, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they would have won, because Atlanta, like I said, that's the best they've been in the MLS era. They were great.
No, they were. They really, really were. But still, though, there's a big opportunity here. And of course, let's not forget, you win that semifinal match. You're hosting the finals. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a big caveat right now that's in front of them.
it's huge, and you could tell that the players know it.
Now, obviously, you'll be hosting the semifinals. You're going to be taking on Austin FC. Uh, a surprise, I would say, themselves. And unfortunately for them, they'll be without Brian Vasquez, apparently a torn ACL in the right knee. I thought it was actually an Achilles, but officially it's a torn ACL in the right knee. Do you think that diminishes at Austin for Minnesota in the semifinals, or do you think that's more wounded animals are more dangerous?
Well, I think it's a couple things. That's a good analogy. I think there's also the way to look at it is that everyone else on the team now says, "Hey, this is my chance." The man that we've been demanding be our star is gone, and so now all of the rest of us have to step up. And we've seen teams do that. Their star player doesn't make it to the big game. They're out for the season, and everyone else on the team picks it up a full notch, and that more than makes up for one guy being missing.
Yeah.
So if 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 you go play Austin today and you think they're a diminished team, you could have a long, long, long day.
No, very true. Very, very true. Do you feel maybe this could be a match in the semifinals where it's Dane St. Clair versus Brad Stuver? Because the way Stuver plays goal has been phenomenal. I don't have to ask you about Dane. You've seen him in front of your own eyes. I've seen him for Canada, for the national team. We know how great of a goalkeeper he is. I mean, could this really wind up as a keeper versus keeper situation?
I don't know. I think he relies an awful lot on those defenders in front of him. They've done a great job together. The one thing Dane St. Clair has become over the years is a leader. He's the leader of the team. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care who wears the captain's armband for Minnesota. He is the leader. When there is a dust up somewhere on the field, he is there. When somebody needs to talk to the referee, he is there. When his players need a pat on the back, he is there. He just lifts everybody, especially in the defense, and they've built this almost like an arc. I don't mean a Noah's Ark. I mean like a curve in front of the goal to keep opposition attacks to a minimum, even when opposition attacks have the ball for 60 to 70% of the game. It's crazy how few quality attempts these teams are getting on goal. 2 or 3 a game tops. That's all they're getting, even with 65% of the ball in the attacking third. And so Dane St. Clair has done some great things on penalties over the years, but still, as good as you are, that's a crapshoot. You can't be counting on that to save you all the time. And so I think it's his leadership as much as anything. And we know Stuver's a great leader too. And I sometimes see how a goalkeeper reacts with opposing fans as one of the real shows of leadership. And he seems to have this great rapport even with the away fans, even when they're really giving him the business. He takes it in stride. He loves to show off to those people, to show them that he's better. And I know Dane St. Clair has a huge streak in him like that, to really show people what's going on, and he's done it in many different tournaments. So I mean, maybe you're right, those are the two keys, but they both have so many players who can attack from so many directions. And
Exactly.
Minnesota and Austin have played really tight games since Austin came into the league. So I don't expect anything different.
Absolutely. And I bet it's going to be a great matchup in that semifinal game. Anyway, Bruce, I appreciate your time as always. Thank you for joining me tonight, and I'll talk to you again soon. Enjoy your evening and enjoy the rest of the season so far. Take care.
Yeah, I love talking to you. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye now. And that is Bruce McGuire from DuNord as we talk about Minnesota United defeating Chicago Fire in extra time. And finally, tonight, it's time to head on over to the capital of Texas, Austin, Texas. My good friend from the Austin Chronicle, Eric Goodman, joining me tonight. Austin FC goes the distance against San Jose in the penalty kick shootout. Eric, thank you for your time, and how are you, sir?
Absolutely, Daniel. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing excellent. Absolutely excellent. Glad to have you back on. Before we talk about the match, obviously losing Brandon Vasquez is a big blow. I'll admit, the way he went down and how he grabbed the back of his ankle and his heel, I thought it was an Achilles, but you reported it was a torn ACL in the right knee.
Yeah, it's and it's one of those things that we see more often than any of us would like to see. And with a player like Brandon, who was just kind of really finding his stride and had started to get consistently dangerous in front of goal. This is an Austin FC team that in MLS play is dead last in goals scored. So obviously it's a huge loss. It's a huge loss for a player that I think no matter who you support, just a very likable guy, especially if you've followed the U.S. national team, even though he wasn't probably going to get a World Cup, a serious look at the World Cup roster, but he's a guy that's been in and around that striker mix for the U.S. and just a really great guy who's also luckily still only 26 and has a lot of road ahead of him to recover and still produce and still score boatloads of goals later on in his career. But it's definitely a blow Austin didn't need. And when you start to look at the Open Cup probably being Austin's best route to having a somewhat successful season, it's obviously a huge blow.
No, it really is. But still, though, great match. Fantastic job from Brad Stuver going all the way from the start of regulation towards extra time and then the big penalty kick shootout. That was tremendous. Let's go ahead to the graphic right now. And there it is for you. Brand new things here for Four Scenes Fire American Soccer Show. Opening goal. Very quickly, San Jose gets on the board, 12th minute. Chicho Arango, once again, always dangerous, always difficult to play against, gets that opening goal, and they have that lead in the first half. And then the penalties started racking up for Austin. Brandon Vasquez converts that spot kick in the 65th minute. Talk about that.
Yeah, well, it was kind of both. I mean, and I'm sure we'll get to it. Both of Austin's goals came on penalty kicks, and Austin, I would say was very fortunate to get, it was really just a case of undisciplined, poor defending in the box by San Jose because Austin wasn't creating much at all. In fact, that first half, if the whole match had proceeded as the way that the first half had, I was getting ready to start, potentially writing my column about how maybe Nico Estevez is just never going to be able to get anything dangerous out of this club. And they did play better in the second half and they did create some chances for themselves, but at the end, the two goals they scored on the two penalty kicks were very fortunate. It escapes me who on San Jose made the foul for the first penalty kick in stoppage time.
Whoop. And Eric has gone away, and hopefully there he is.
Sorry about that. You hear me?
Nope, that's okay. Must have been in the lightning storm or something. But keep on going,
yeah,
please.
I mean, yeah, the weather's continuing to be sub-ideal. But anyway, yeah, it's Austin got very fortunate. Mark Anthony Kaye with a really undisciplined challenge, completely needless that allowed Austin to get back into the match. And this was one where you would have expected San Jose to go through, but again, Brad Stuver, the heroics that he put on display are, from what I've watched obviously pretty much every match he's played as an MLS starter since he was predominantly a backup before he got to Austin. That to me is his career best performance. He was on another level in this one.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely he was. And then it goes into extra time, and you go down again to one. Benjamin Kikanovic I mean, that was a hell of a rocket to make it 2-1 Quakes. But once again, penalties coming up big. I mean, that's the theme for Austin in this entire match, wasn't it? If it's not the penalty, it's nothing else. You live and die by the spot kick here in this one.
Yeah, it was penalties and it was Brad Stuver. And even, the 2 goal, this was not a clean sheet. Austin conceded twice. The first one, Chicho Arango, I don't think Brad Stuver was even able to move off of his spot. I mean, it was top bins. He had no chance. The second, the Kikanovic goal you mentioned, if you want to be really harsh, you can say Stuver might have had a chance to save it, but he had already made a save in that sequence. It was a barrage of pressure from San Jose. Really great stretch of play where not every goal, like great offense, doesn't necessarily mean you're finding the perfect passes to lead to a tap and finish. Sometimes it's just relentless. You just, you're not relieving the pressure, not letting the defense get a clearance. And that's how San Jose was able to get that second goal, which I think most of us assumed would be the winner, coming in stoppage in extra time. But, once again, like we mentioned, Mark-Anthony Kaye commits that foul, gets Austin right back into the game. This was also obviously Brandon Vasquez is now injured and out of the game at this point. He had converted the first penalty. So none of us were quite sure who was going to step up to take that crucial penalty for Austin. It ends up being Mirto Uzuni, who's just had a terrible first season, being Austin's record signing, his first season here in Austin. This was his third goal in all competitions. He's only scored once in MLS play. He was able to step up and take the penalty kick well. And then you get to the shootout. Immediately, Brad Stuver gives Austin a lead with the save on Chicho Arango, which was just a terrible penalty.
It was
just a terrible penalty from a player you expect better from. But credit to Stuver for trusting his research, trusting his instincts, and making that save. And then Austin's strikers, they took 4 very solid penalties. Owen Wolff ends up getting rewarded with the winning penalty after he was the one who kind of gave Kaye and Mark-Anthony Kaye enough trouble to draw the penalty that gets Austin back in it. So all in all, there's a lot to be impressed with in specific areas for Austin. If you're a San Jose fan, you feel like, how did we not go through in this one? I mean, they had 1 foot in the semifinals, I think, on more than one occasion.
I think you have to be a little bit lucky because the situation with Mikel Dessler and Christian Espinoza, because he got that yellow, but then when you see a close-up replay shot or a close-up shot of Espinoza's, I think it was his right leg or his left leg, that's a big time gash off of his cleat. And I swear, I mean, that was a really bad stud gash. Were you shocked, VAR? Because if VAR was in play, were you shocked they did not call the referee to the monitor and give Dessler a red card there?
Well, first of all, just generally speaking, when people get we know the VAR is looking at everything. So like it's not like he didn't think to even check that. I mean, my assumption is that he sees the foul, and certainly it studs up from Dessler. It's contact high up on the leg of Espinoza, who, by the way, is a player that has just given Austin nightmares since day one of this club. So to the fact that he ended up having to, as a substitute, then get resubstituted out of the game was big. And yeah, there's certainly I certainly understand calls for a penalty. It would have been a call for a red card. And Dessler does get the ball. I mean, that was Austin's argument, to the ref, is like it's ball first and then he gets the man. But I mean, I think maybe you have 20 different refs, 10 would call it, one way, 10 would call it the other way.
True. So, yeah.
It was a rare case where the road team, gets the benefit of the doubt in this one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's like the laws of the game. It's very clear. If you get the ball first, then, unless it's a really super violent conduct, then maybe he is gone. But the other question is this, though. And obviously, San Jose fans were complaining, saying Stuver was not on the line during Arango's first penalty kick. But once again, that that freeze, you can't tell there. You really can't, because where did he strike the ball, and when did Stuver, make the move to make the save?
And this is also one of these things that's, pretty new. And yes, now with in this VAR era, it's popular to look for that split second where the keeper's off. I mean, for decades in the sport, we were never paying that close of attention to where a goalkeeper's, back heel, whether was it on the line, was it an inch off. I think if you're a San Jose Quakes fan, and you're not just lamenting a really poor penalty from Marengo, then that's where you got to kind of look on that one. And like we've been saying, the VAR would have looked at it, and if it was clear that Stuver was off his line, they would have called for a retake. And so you got to imagine and just go with what the ruling was there, that Stuver was at least on the line at a point that satisfied the VAR.
Yep. No, I agree with you. Absolutely agree with you 100%. And nothing more you can say or do on that one. Okay, now semifinals. Austin is heading up north to take on Minnesota United FC at Allianz Field in September for that semifinal matchup. What is it about that game do you believe Austin FC can do, and what worries about you with Minnesota United FC?
So, I mean, this is just as the San Jose Austin clash were two teams that historically have had very little to separate them. This is another one. It's 11 all-time meetings, 5 wins for Minnesota, 5 wins for Austin, and 1 draw. I mean, you can't really separate these two clubs, which neither one, can really claim to be at the class of the Western Conference. It's going to be an exciting one, without question. I think obviously if you're Minnesota at home, Austin's down their top goal scorer, you feel like, you've been given a pretty solid, smooth potential opportunity to get to the final here. For Austin, it's going to be compete level. It's going to be just like in San Jose, just try to hang tough as long as you can. And at the end of the day, if Brad Stuver is going to be as difficult to beat as he's been consistently all season, and it's rewarded him with an MLS All-Star appearance. For my money, he's right now the hottest goalkeeper in Major League Soccer and the toughest to get a shot by. So if he's going to be in that kind of form come September, then I think Austin is going to at least be in with a chance to force a match, potentially to penalty kicks once again. And kind of just ride, their big number one potentially to their first final in club history.
That should be a fun time. Let me also ask you this, if you don't mind me asking. This will just be my last question. Do you feel the way that Dane St. Clair plays for Minnesota and the way Stuver has gone for Austin?
I think I've lost your audio right here, unfortunately. Let me try to get that back.
And hopefully you hear me now. Is it better? And we've lost Eric. Another storm on the way. Hopefully we'll get him back quickly before we say goodbye. But, that's the toughie. We'll wait for him. Up there he is. I want to finish it off on a flourish here. There we go.
You got
a lightning rod in that house of yours to stop with the interference, or what?
The thing is, I'm Wi-Fi's out, so I'm operating off of cell service best I can here. So I appreciate you bearing with me. Sorry about that.
Not a problem at all. No, I understand. I've been through your spots. I guess my last question for you is this. Obviously, like we said, we know about Brad Stuver. Dane St. Clair has also been amazing for Minnesota United. Do you see this as a potential goalie versus goalie semifinal?
I think that would be, maybe not if you're a big fan of high flying offense, but I think to me that would be a really interesting narrative. And like you said, you could argue these are the two best performing goalkeepers in the league right now. And I think it's neither one is going to want to be the busier of the two goalkeepers, but if we get both offenses somehow creating chances and really challenging these two keepers to see who can come up with the big save at the biggest moment, I think that's going to make for a really compelling semifinal. And I think, I think either fan base is probably going to feel like their guy is giving them the advantage. So really tough to separate the two.
Absolutely. Eric, as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. Let's hope. Okay, real quick. I know you're a Knicks fan like me. Did you
Yes,
like the
sir.
Mike Brown hire, or you wanted somebody else?
No, I like the Mike Brown hire. I'm happy.
Oh, and there he goes again. I'll wait for him to come back and finish that off, and then we'll say goodnight here on the Four Seasons Fire American Soccer Show. We'll just wait for him to come back for that answer. But that is Eric Goodman from the Austin Chronicle talking about Austin FC in their quarterfinal matchup going to penalties against the San Jose Earthquakes at PayPal Park in San Jose, California, as once again they will be facing on the road against Minnesota United FC at Allianz Field in September for the semifinals. And also, let's not forget, for Nashville SC, if Philadelphia wins in the rescheduled game, they will host the Union. But if the Red Bulls win that match, Nashville will travel to Harrison, New Jersey to play at Sports Illustrated Stadium in the semifinals. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen there. And I just don't think we're going to have Eric coming back here tonight, but that's okay. But I want to thank my guests tonight, Valair, Shabilla of 615 Soccer on Nashville SC, Bruce McGuire of DuNord on Minnesota United FC, and once again, Eric Goodman, recently on with Austin Chronicle for following Austin FC. Once again, no review for the Red Bulls as their match against the Union was postponed for August 13th due to severe thunderstorms and severe rain that flooded the pitch and lightning all over the place. But join me tomorrow night for another regular Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer shows. I'll have DC United broadcaster Dave Johnson and from RBLR Sports in Tampa, James Knowles. My name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you very much for watching me tonight. And as always, please, please, please enjoy your football. Thank you. Have a good night. Take care. So long and bye-bye for now. Have a good night, everybody.